What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning into the channel, checking out another video. This is the follow-up, part 2 on the Raptor 350 build. If you guys haven't checked out the first video, go back a few in my channel and watch that one first. You'll kind of see what it looked like when we first picked it up and you really get a good visual for what we've all done to it so far. So, picked it up. My daughter wanted something different, get rid of the DS250. It was too slow for her. She wanted something a little quicker. I told her, you're gonna have to learn how to shift. So she agreed, and I found this a little bit cosmetically neglected, and mechanically too, I would say. But the motor was tight, was sound, has good compression. I did a compression test. It was at like 124, 125 pounds. It does smoke a tad on startup for like 30 seconds to a minute, and then it stops. So that's just the valve guide seals. If your rings were bad, you'd be smoking all the time, and your compression would be down. So my hunch is it's just the valve guide seals. That's something I can live with for a bit. I'm not worried about that. It runs great. Doesn't affect performance or anything like that. It's not burning oil while it's running. It's just that startup. When it's sitting, when your valve guide seals are dry and bad. Same thing on a car. I had an old 85 Firebird, had bad valve guide seals, had 190,000 miles on it, on a 305 Chevy small block. And the oil will just seep past the seals for the valves into the cylinder while it's sitting, where the oil kind of pulls up over there. And then when you first start it, it burns all that oil off, it smokes a bit, and then it stops. So if you're smoking a little bit at startup and then it stops, that's usually valve guide seals. So that's likely the issue with this. So like I said, it was sitting for a while, neglected. Watch the first video. I'm not going to go too in depth because I went in depth in that with how it looked. You can see in the first video. But basically, first thing we tackled was tore the carburetor apart, completely stripped that thing out, put all new seals in it, O-rings, rejetted it. Put new, I was going to just change the jets anyway, but it was running lean, so I upped the jets. I don't remember 100% which size I went with, but I'm one size up from whatever stock was on both the idle jet and the main. And the reason why I think it was running a little lean is, well, for one, I put a uni air filter in it. The air box is still stock, but we took out the stock air filter, which looked like probably original. Thing was gross. Got rid of that, put a uni in here, and then a previous owner gutted the exhaust, so it doesn't have no more spark arrestor. So she was running a little lean. So up the jets, rebuilt the carb. That wasn't a full rebuild, but more or less a cleaning. Really stripped it down, cleaned it all out, and she runs great now. Starts right up on choke when it's really cold. Leave it on choke for like 20, 30 seconds, and she's good to go. So this second thing we did, I already told you about the uni air filter, is once in a while it would start and it wouldn't start so well, I should say, making like a funky noise and like it was just spinning. So wasn't 100% familiar with these machines. So in my research, I found that there's a one-way bearing in here that mates to the starter gear. Okay, so when your starter engages, it spins that gear. There's a one-way bearing on it. That one-way bearing goes bad. So this cover was leaking oil anyway. So I pulled the cover off. You need a flywheel puller. So buy one of those. Got one from Rocky Mountain ATV, super cheap. Pulled the flywheel, replaced the one-way bearing and the starter gear. Put it all back together. That's the biggest thing. You gotta be careful, is making sure that flywheel is seated properly. Just torquing it down doesn't do it because it may not be fully seated. So you really gotta make sure it's on there good, or else you'll shear the Woodruff key right off your crank, and then you're taking it all back apart. So what I did was I used some lapping compound, put it on the flywheel, and gave that a couple spins on the crankshaft, wiped it all clean, put it back together, put a socket over it and a rubber mallet and kind of make sure it was seated really, really well before I put the bolt in and torqued it down. And I haven't had any issues. So, and it's not leaking oil anymore either. So that was the second thing we did. Then we got a front bumper for it. It had the stock plastic front bumper on there. Looked like somebody spray painted it black again to kind of get the color back, because it was all, old and faded. The stock bumpers on these Yamahas are plastic. It was the same thing on my 700. So we got rid of that. Got the Alba Racing bumper on there. Looks good now. I love the way it looks. And moving up from there, we did the Pro Taper SE bars in black. Kind of can see the theme here, black and blue. So also went with the ODI grips with the blue rings. These are great grips. I mean, we got them on all the machines except for my son's. He wanted gray, so he had we got one with the Pro Taper on his. But then in the back, we also did an Alba Racing grab bar in the back. It had like this ugly 6-pack rack on there. I know some people like them, and it is convenient. I agree. If you're out there at the dunes, it's hot. You're cruising around the trails, you can bring a little cooler with you. Me personally, I take a backpack out with me, throw some water bottles in there. You can freeze them the night before. And whatever I need, and I'm good to go. So I'm not that 6-pack rack had to go. So that thing's gone with the Albert grab bar on there. So aesthetically, it's pretty good. We're going to do some more things, but just to finish up what we did so far, we also did a new clutch. So when revving it out, and really getting on it, being aggressive, I felt like the power wasn't there. I know they're not a rocket ship, these machines anyway. It's not a 700, but I felt like there was something being left on the table, and the clutch was kind of letting out all the way at the top. I mean, it wasn't grabbing until probably like right there, and then she would go. So the cable was all adjusted right. Everything was good to go there. It was, so my hunch was it probably needed a new clutch. So I ordered everything up from Rocky Mountain. I ordered a new clutch cover gasket, the clutch pack, competition clutch pack, and I ordered the new springs as well. So replaced all that. Today is Tuesday. Did that on Saturday. We went for a ride on Sunday. Night and day difference. So the clutch pack made a big difference. It's got way more power now. So my hunch was correct. It looked like it was almost, there was still some material left on there, but I don't know if it's because it was original and it was old and it's been sitting. It was almost like the clutch material was dissolving off of the clutch plates. Like there was just black residue, even just kind of in the oil, sitting underneath the clutch cover. So I think it was just, they were just degrading, coming apart. So we replaced those. That was a fairly easy job. Everything I've done on this machine has been fairly simple to work on. Other than that starter gear, which is a little bit of a pain in the neck job. Everything's pretty straightforward. I went and got myself a repair manual for it, so because it doesn't have an owner's manual, so this way I can get all the specs, valve clearance, all that stuff. So that was the other thing I did. When I had the carburetor out, I had the plastics off, I had the gas tank off. I cleaned the gas tank out, make sure that was good, and it was pretty good. Didn't really need it, but I flushed it all out anyway. And then put a new fuel filter in it, and I did a valve adjustment. So adjusted the valves. These are air-cooled engines, so they're a little bit ticky and noisy, more than a liquid-cooled engine is. So it's pretty good now. It was probably a little noisier when I got it, did the valve adjustment. It wasn't too bad. They were a little bit tight. So adjusted those, pretty good now. She runs great, starts right up. It does need the choke when it's really cold, but it starts instantly when the choke's on. Let it warm up. You can hear when it's getting warm, and then dial off the choke, and she stays running great. Reverse on this thing is a bit of a pain in the ass, if I'm being honest. Getting it in and out of reverse. Getting it in reverse is simple. You guys aren't familiar with these machines, the same as Yamaha Warrior, but you pick it up on this and you bring it back to reverse. And then when you put it back into forward, it doesn't always fully engage into forward. You kind of got to let off the clutch a little bit, roll it, you know, pick it up and do it a second time. So that's the only downfall. It's nice having reverse, but the reverse is a pain in the neck to use, so we don't use it much, in all honesty. So the other thing, so what we're going to do now, moving forward, phase 3, I guess you could say, now that she's running right, cosmetically looks pretty good, you know, with the new bars and the bumpers and all that stuff. The other thing, I don't know if you've noticed either, again, go back and watch the first video, but you'll see the wheels were black. Let me step back a little bit here. But the wheels were black when we first brought her home. And man, it was an ugly black. Like when you look, it looks great from afar, but far from good when you were close. So it looked like somebody rattle canned it, and that's exactly what they did. Right over the polished aluminum wheels, they just rattle canned, spray paint black. So while I was working on it one day, when we first got it, when I was doing the one-way bearing, my daughter was kind of picking at the front wheel and it was peeling off. So pulled the machine outside, took the power washer out and blasted the wheels clean. It came right off. I mean, and the wheels are in pretty good shape. I mean, these are the stock wheels they look like. There's a little bit of curb rash on some of them, but they're overall very clean, very good shape. They hold air. I mean, you can't ask for more than that. So the machine's a 2006. So one thing we are going to do, and I'll show you, I got it over here, is a new seat cover. So I'm going to do the seat cover here. It's going to be like that. New vinyl. So we got the blue with the black. Again, go with the theme. The reason I'm doing that is not just to change the color, but the stock seat cover, even though it don't have any rips, it's super hard. Like the vinyl is so dried out and hard that you when you're riding, you slip off it. I took it for a spin Sunday when we were riding, went out riding, and I had my riding pants on, and they were a little bit slippery on the seat. I was like sliding right off. So definitely needs that. So I'm gonna tackle that here shortly, and then another thing I did do on the machine, forgot to mention. And didn't want to leave this out, but you see, we changed the shifter. So I got to give credit to this. I didn't even know nothing about doing this mod. If you don't follow him, I suggest you do. He's built a couple badass Yamaha Warriors. He's got one himself. He's got a ton of work done to it. I don't even want to insult him by name and everything that he did to it, because I'll probably leave everything off. But check out his channel on YouTube, MN Warrior 350. He's got an awesome Yamaha Warrior, so he knows a lot about these machines. I kind of picked his brain a little bit, and he's like, hey, man, I got this direct shifter. I'm not using it. You want it for your daughter? It'll be a lot better. I'll send it to you. And he did. Great guy. His name's Jason. Horror Dad is his Instagram name. You can follow him on there as well. And then MN Warrior 350 on YouTube. I'll put a link to his channel, actually, below in the description here, so give him a follow. He's got a nice channel, really good guy, so give him a follow and some likes as well. So that made a difference in the sense that you guys know the stock shifter comes off of here, and then there's a linkage rod. So that with that whole setup, there's a lot of play. You can see, this is like a traditional shifter, just goes direct to the shaft. When you have the linkage and all that stuff, it's hard to find neutral. It's hard to, when you shift and you don't really feel that click and engage. Like with my daughter first learning, she wasn't even sure sometimes, like, she was shifting into the gear. It's hard to feel it. And I didn't even know nothing about that mod. I thought it was kind of quirky and weird with the linkage, but he brought it to my attention and suggested, and it made a big difference. The only thing I'm gonna have to modify a little bit is because it's steel, the peg here, it kills the top of your foot sometimes if you're not wearing boots, and she doesn't wear riding boots when you're upshifting. So I may just put a rubber boot on it and then it'll be fine. But what we're going to do next after the seat cover, we're going to get a DRW case saver, and then put a new chain on it. This thing I cannot get clean for the life of me. I think it's the original chain. There's no slack in it. I measured it up. It's still good. Technically, it's in spec, but she's a little rough. I think she sat outside for a bit, and it's dry. I soaked it in chain lube. I mean drenched it and let it sit for a while, and then wiped it off. And she's still pretty dry and gross. Used chain cleaner, scrubbed it. I mean, it just can't. This is the best I can get it. So I don't know how well the camera's picking it up, but it's pretty fugly. So we're gonna get rid of that. The last thing I need is a chain snapping or something, you know. So we'll put a chain on it, DRW case saver. I'm gonna do a full belly pan. I was looking for the Gland Innovations one because I have that on my Raptor 700 and I love it. You guys have seen that on my other videos, but that's awesome. And I got it in the blue, but they don't make one for the 350 Raptor, so DRW does, and I'm going to get the case saver from them, so I'll get theirs, and that'll be great. I like the poly skid plates better than the aluminum. They don't get hung up. If you hit a rock, slides right over it. They don't dent. They last forever, so they're great. So we'll go with that. We're going to do Nerf bars on it, because like I said, my daughter don't wear boots. She's very resistant to that. So at least it'll protect our legs a little bit. So I'll put some Nerf bars on there. I'll probably stick with the Alba stuff. It's pretty decent. We have the Alba bumper and the Alba rear grab bar, so we'll do the Alba Nerf bars. I have them on my 700 Raptor, and they work great. And then I would like to do a better set of shocks on this thing. It's probably the only thing I would say negative about the machine. It's great for learning how to ride a clutch. My daughter's had such an easy transition learning how to ride on this thing, to use a clutch. She's never shifted a clutch before in her life until this machine. It's just a very linear power. And it doesn't really take a lot of effort to learn it. You know, it's not intimidating. You know, if you've never ridden a clutch before and you get on, say, a Raptor 700, it might scare you. You'd be like, I don't even want to do this, you know. And that was her thought, because she did one time try to drive mine, and just taking off in first gear. I mean, as soon as you let off the clutch, you don't even have to give it any gas. If any of you's ridden a Raptor 700, it just starts going quick. So that was a little intimidating for her. But this is nice and linear, easy. If you want to go super slow and take off easy, it does it. And it's very forgiving. The clutch and the engine, the way the power comes on this machine, is very forgiving. So it's great for anybody learning how to ride clutch for the first time. A Warrior 350 or Raptor 350. I mean, I highly suggest it. I mean, for that purpose. And it's got plenty of power to have fun. I mean, I rip around on it and I enjoy it. It's not a boring machine. It's not slow. It's perfect for an adult who's experienced as well. So, and you can do some work to these things to get even some more power up on them. So it's a good machine. So we're going to put a little bit of money into it. Want to keep it. We've done all this so far on it. So I think a nice set of shocks would do it justice. I am looking for suggestions for that. If you guys have any suggestions, I know Banshee shocks, they say, fit on these. I don't want to go with a stock set of Banshee shocks because they're going to be used, probably a little abused. I don't know how much better of an upgrade it's really going to be. The Banshees weren't really known from the factory to have a great set of shocks on it. So my thought process is maybe an aftermarket set of Banshee shocks like Elka's or something like that. But they can be a little pricey. So in my research, I found Fox float shocks come up a lot when you look up for shocks for, you know, Banshee shocks or shocks for this. Now, I don't know. I've never used them before. They're like an air shock instead of a spring. So if any of you guys have experience with those Fox float shocks, please let me know what you think and what you suggest, if they're a good option, what your experience is with them, because I have none with them, and I'm not really 100% sure. I don't want to just buy something and it doesn't work out. So I'm definitely looking for some suggestions for some shocks for this thing. That's something she's been saying too. Hey, I would like to put better shocks on it. It does ride a little bit rough. The shocks are probably pretty worn, and I don't think they're that great to begin with, stock. So we'll probably keep this width. I don't know. You know, getting wider is getting into a whole nother ball game with control arms and axles and all that stuff. So I'm thinking shocks, DRW skid plate, chain, case saver. I'm going to change the seat cover, maybe some graphics for it. We'll get rid of this, the Raptor 350 sticker is a little bit worn. I pointed that out in the first video. Haven't taken it off yet. So I'll get rid of that and all the warning labels and stuff. Maybe we'll get a graphics package, graphics kit for it, or maybe just leave it all blue. I don't know. We'll see what she wants to do. We're also going to do an exhaust. So that's the other thing. We're going to probably do an FMF Power Core 4, just a slip on, just because this one's gutted already. So I want to get something with the spark arrestor on there. I'm not going to put a stock muffler on there, so we'll go with an aftermarket one. At least as the spark arrestor. We do ride National Forest Service, get stopped. That's the last thing I need to get a fine for not having the spark arrestor in there. So we'll get that, an FMF Power Core 4 or an HMF. One of the two, probably. I don't know if you guys have any other suggestions for this machine. I don't want it intimidatingly loud. Like I said, we ride in certain settings. I don't want it too loud to annoy people. And I don't personally like that anyway. The Yoshimura I have on my 700 is awesome. But I don't know what other options there are for this machine. So if you guys have any suggestions, I'm open to that as well. And whatever else you guys think I should do to it next. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think she's come really a long way. It's a nice machine. If you have any questions about it, feel free to hit me up. I'll answer them the best I can. But again, if you guys have any suggestions on shocks for me, please let me know, because that's something that I'm not 100% sure on yet. And we'll go from there. But these tires also, I want to say, I haven't found them anywhere but on Amazon. They're called Mass Effects. The front tires look just like the GBC XC Masters. And the rears are, you know, they got their own little pattern, but they hook up great. And you can get them on Amazon fairly cheap. That's the only place I've found them. So I don't know if they're just an Amazon brand, but they've been good. So far, so good. So I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching this one. You guys, some of you have been asking for the update on this machine. It's been a bit, and we got a lot done to it so far. So she's running good. She's looking pretty good. And then we'll see what's next on part 3. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one. Ride safe.